That's the warm-up lap you're looking at. Let's take a look at the 33 starters in order of appearance on the grid. You already know that Mark Scaife had pole position, qualified first, and obviously finished race 1 first. So the order remains the same there with Scaife versus Ambrose on the front. From position 5, it's a good run for Paul Radisage,
who had his best qualifying performance this weekend, finished up 8th in the shootout, and I think he'll be a contender today.
Stephen Ellery very happy to be inside the top 10 after missing the shootout by 5/100ths of a second.
And Stephen Richards with a brand new VY Commodore, very fast in early practice, put brand new tyres on in qualifying. The car had a lot of understeer, but they've learned a lot more about that vehicle going into this race.
Paul Wheel in position number 12. 13 will be Stephen Johnson. They've tried to get the chassis balance working on the Shell Helix Racing. He put in a good performance. He made up ground from 22nd up to 13th. And remember, yesterday's race was all over in a flash. It was only 17 laps, but by the time they had the trouble throughout the first turn, they only pretty much got in about 13 laps under race conditions. Jason Bargwanna is also fighting hard in the AU Falcon for Orcon Racing. Rodney Forbes will have a teammate again this weekend from 00 Motorsport. Greg Ritter will be racing this weekend. Cameron McConville will start from 23. Down towards the back of the grid, Mark Larkham, Paul Dumbrell, Craig Lowndes from 28.
Lowndes had some damage yesterday and he had to pit. Ritter's down there as well. Max Wilson, a bent steering arm. Glenn Seaton popped a belt off and cooked an engine. Paul Morris with a bent steering arm as well. Then Russell Ingall. Now, an interesting fact about Russell Ingall is that he flat spotted all 4 tyres in that incident yesterday, which means that today he's got to operate on a smaller pool of tyres. In fact, they've drafted in some of their older tyres from practice, and that's team boss Ross Stone, and that will seriously compromise his performance through the course of the 200k races today.
Take a look at Jeff Gregg. The general in more ways than one. He positions himself right in line with the front of Mark Scaife's car to make sure that he's got every single millimetre. The start here is crucial. I can't tell you how crucial this is, because Marcus Ambrose said straight away after finishing second in the shootout, he has to get Scaife off the starting grid. Greg Murphy made it clear that he reckons he could round them all up by turn 1. And what you've also got to remember is that you're looking at one of the longest main straightaways that we've got in the 13 rounds of the championship. 1.1 kilometre, there's plenty of room to make a move. Look at Scaife, starting on pole. He's won here twice, in 2000 and 2002. Ambrose split him in 2001. Russell Ingall was the inaugural winner back in 1998. And Jason Bright is the other winner in 99. We've got a green flag. We're good to go for the second race of this 3-race event here at Hidden Valley. Oh, it's pretty even between Scaife and Ambrose. The charge is on down to turn 1. Look at him zipping away from us, and it appears as though Scaife will hold on and lead the way into turn 1, but Jason Bright, and look at Greg Murphy climbing all over him as well. Sorry, that's Garth Tander. Good start from both front rows of the grid, positions 1 through to 4.
Lowndes looking to make a run around the outside from down the back there as well. Tander, a little bit of dust on the exit of turn 1. But a very good start for Mark Scaife. Track position is king at this raceway. This is often where there's a problem in the opening lap because of the intensity of the traffic here into turn 4. Up into the valley for the first time. This is turn 5, 65 kilometres per hour. Ambrose is running with Scaife. Oh, a bit of drama here in the pack as one of the Team Dynamic cars turns Bradley Jones around. Jason Richards, that started about 40 or 50 metres earlier than that. One of the Shell cars took an opportunity to go through on the inside while that was all unfolding. And that further delays some of the key players at the back of the pack here.
Go back to 2002 and you'll probably remember the massive crash that we had, as Neil mentioned, on that turn, the lead into turn 4. There was 7 cars wiped out in one straight flash, but the flash at the moment past the start-finish line is all red. Mark Scaife, Marcus Ambrose.
1 minute 19.5 standing lap time for Scaife as Murphy takes a look on the inside of Tander. Cleaner start to activities by comparison with yesterday's first event, and 2 cars in with damage already. Richards, obviously, we know why that is, and Stephen Johnson, car 17, tangled up in all that as well.
Stephen Johnson qualified.
Left rear tyre is damaged. In fact, I think it's completely ripped apart on that car. Yes, it is.
Qualified 22nd, and as I mentioned at the top, fought his way through to finishing 13th. Saw him last night. He was looking pretty relaxed, and they were kind of happy that they had found a few of the answers that they were looking for. Here's back to the mess at turn 5 involving Jason Richards. And in the end, as probably mention it started sort of 40, 50 metres back to where the impact happened, and Bradley Jones is left facing the wrong way. What about this? Russell Ingall has moved up 8 positions in his first lap. So Ingall up to 25 after starting from 33. Lap 2 is now down. That means the pit window is officially open. A 109.7125 for Mark Skaife.
That's good pace. Quicker pace in the opening stages of this race by comparison with the first event yesterday. Greg?
Kim Jones has been on the radio talking to his brother Neil there. A little bit concerned about the Aussie Mail Ford wandering around on its tyres at the moment. He can't see. Brad reckons he won't be able to see any visible evidence of that. Kim's looking over the pit wall at the moment. Stephen Johnson's left rear tyre had a lot of damage to the rim. He's not sure who hit him.
Well, the Aussie Mail car will no doubt have damage to suspension somewhere as a result of that contact with Jason Richards, so they may have an alignment issue. Bernard runs wide at 4. We saw Stephen Ellery out in the boonies down at turn 1. And Craig Lowndes has got the rear bumper assembly hanging off the back of the Cat car. Look at the chaos there. 3 cars wide up into turn 5 at the Valley. Anthony Tratt hangs the tail on the exit. Ingall continues to blast his way through this pack at the moment.
This will be Stephen Ellery in the Super Cheap Auto Ford, a victim at turn 1. Been working on suspension, set up. Marcus Ambrose has snuck past Mark Skaife. Must have happened on the exit of turn 10. They knew that they had plenty of grunt going down the main straight, the Pertec boys, and it appears as though that has come to the fore right now, and Marcus Ambrose has gone to the front as a result. Some action in pit lane. Looks like one of the Team Brock cars.
Bows in as well.
That's Paul Wheel, and Todd Kelly goes in. The tyre change.
Look at this, 9.3 for Ambrose.
Go.
Ambrose at the top of the chart there, so that's a heck of a lap time from him. Very quick, little bit cooler than the hotter temperatures yesterday afternoon's event.
What an amazing performance from Marcus Ambrose. If you judged on what happened in race 1, the highlights that we showed you yesterday, we said, can't tell you how crucial that start was. But Marcus Ambrose has got him somewhere. And this will be it. So
he's missed a gear.
First and second. Skaife,
he's missed a gear. It's a real awkward gear change there from second to third. That had me puzzled. That's the explanation. 9.3 for Ambrose, 9.7 the last lap for Bright. The other thing about a big rev like that is that it's possible that you can have overhead damage in the engine. It'll be a big one at that spot. That means that Mark has sacrificed track position, Darryl. One of the other issues that was raised after the last event at Barbagallo Raceway was right of way for those that were leaving their service bay area and joining the fast lane again. The ruling is from the race director that if you are leaving your pit lane and you've been released by the car controller, then right of way is adjudged to have been given to the car in the fast lane, and you must yield. You cannot parallel down the inside of that lane. In other words, you can't make a 2 abreast chain down there. Rusty?
Well, Neil, just to add to what you're saying there, it's been bedlam at this early stage in pit lane, and it's amazing to watch everyone do that, to follow the race director's comments and stick out. Basically, Russell Ingall came in mid-pack, but he had to join at the end of the queue, giving way to everyone. Now, Marcus Ambrose is in.
So Ambrose now comes in. Remember, Skaife's already been in. The boys are there, Darryl.
Ambrose in. Everyone's had pretty good stops. They are actually having a little bit of a play with that roll center. It looked like about a quarter of a turn and he's out. Good stop.
Like it was very efficient. So not only efficient from the point of view of changing rubber, but also an opportunity to just trim the car. Leaves Jason Bright as the leader there. Skaife, what's the outcome here? Ambrose gets out in front. So with an efficient stop from SBR and the missed gear from Mark Skaife, the tables are turned in favour of the Pertec Falcon.
I think, Neil, you just encapsulated what's been happening all season so far. After we left Adelaide, since then the tables have been turning everything in favour of Marcus Ambrose. Bit of debris on turn 4 there. Somebody's left behind. The bigger picture starts to come into play. Mark Skaife, untouchable last season, unflappable, rarely made a mistake throughout the entire championship and obviously blitzed him. Now some mistakes are starting to creep in. Here's Jason Bright, the championship leader for 2003, yet to win a race or a round.
Go, 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 go.
911 championship points, so consistent. That's the kind of stuff that'll win you the title in 2003, given the points series. And here's the guy who's second overall on the ladder with 882 points. Rusty?
Good stop by both Team Brock and Kmart. They won't get out ahead of Marcus or ahead of Mark Skaife, but 7.4 was the time from Team Brock. Interestingly, though, Stephen Richards has leapfrogged Paul Radisage in the pits.
It's shaking out now as they unfold this stop, and there's the gap between the leaders and Ambrose. Now with tyre pressures and temperatures normalised, has got a couple of car lengths margin over Mark Skaife. Fastest man on the track with Rodney Forbes on the outfield at the exit of turn 4. Mark Skaife's recorded a 1 minute 9.1. Did that on lap 6, as you can see from the graphic.
Jason Bright, when he was at Stone Brothers Racing, obviously in the Ford in 1999, he gave SBR their first championship round win here at Hidden Valley. That's Mark Noske going off-road.
Typical time loss in a pit stop here is about 45 seconds from your departure from your normal lap speed time profile to where you rejoin your normal lap speed time profile. The really good stops last year were in the high 30s, but on average it was about 44, 45. It's Mark Noske looping the AU Falcon around at turn 1. A lot of fires in this area over the course of the weekend, Matthew, because of the amount of flame that spits from the exhausts, which are often turned down at the exhaust tip end in order to reduce noise. And we had a lot of incidents where practice...
Pit, Dean Canto, Craig Baird and Stephen Ellery. So from 4th onwards, you've got the guys who have pitted. Greg Murphy there in 7th. Corrected, that puts him 4th.
Skaife locked a brake on the way into 5 then. There's a bit of aggravation. Locked rear brakes for Russell Ingall on the way into turn 1 as he tried to go underneath Anthony Tratt. Made a mistake. Greg Ritter went with him. So it's not been a good weekend for Russell Ingall. Here's the replay. And it was as a result of being on the dirty side of the racetrack. And then right at the very end of the stop when the temperature grows in the rear brakes, they've locked up and off he's gone. And you can imagine the words.
Help.
And here's a replay of Greg Ritter again, and this time it's Dumbrell on the outside, just trying to take avoiding action there. Now Skaife was really getting close to the back of Ambrose in the last couple of laps, and in particular under brakes, but that little mistake up in the valley has cost him a little bit there. What he can't afford to do is to just drive the car outside the box, put a little flat spot on a tyre, or just take himself off the road ever so slightly, because even though he'll be trying to knuckle down at the moment, he will be frustrated about the fact that he gave track position back to Marcus after such a ripper start.
Get your thoughts on this part of the circuit exactly. They come out of turn 5, they go through this kind of weird little kink that is turn 6, 7, and then a lot of violent bumps on the road.
There's some bumps, there's a surface change and an unusual corner radius, and then the same when you come up here to turn 8. There are bumps on the approach, and 8, 9, 10, very unusual in the way they're shaped. Turn 10, the one that Mark's at the moment. And they've shifted the tyres closer to the apex for this year in order to change the radius and the way in which the guys exit the corner. But very unusual corner. Very easy to lock up an unweighted front tyre up on the top part of the circuit, leave a nasty flat spot on there. 270 km/h approach to turn 1. It's a 3.5 diff, and on the good laps they're right on the 7,500 RPM rev limit. A lot of lock required to get through 1. Skaife was actually using 2nd gear down there, all the way up to 5th. There's the bump, little kick back in the steering wheel on the way to turn 4. Actually, let's just go quiet for a moment and have a listen to the HRT car at full tilt.
nasty bump in turn 10 that Neil was mentioning. Right at the braking point too.
Watch Forbes in front of you, mate. Watch Forbes.
And a warning from Marcus Ambrose to look out for car 7. Stephen Ellery is the only one yet to pit. When he does so, we'll have a fully corrected race order. Ambrose pulls away from car 7. Mark Scaife is now stuck behind Rodney Forbes as they go up through 3 and 4.
Cleanly underneath him. But he has lost a little bit of ground to Marcus, only tiny, but at the top of the show we mentioned the fact that these guys are measuring their difference in performance in the order of tiny fractions. It's got down to such a narrow margin, so every little element of the car is critical in the setup.
Let's get an update from pit lane. Rusty, Greg.
Matty, just observing a couple of stops earlier on and how crucial it is to have a nice, slick stop and how valuable it can be to you in terms of track position. David Bernard came in behind Mark Larkham. Larkham had a problem with the left front. The crew took 13 seconds to do that stop, and in the process, Bernard leapfrogged him. And also, too, a bit of radio chat between Kim Jones and his brother Brad. It sounds as though car 21, the Aussie male Ford, has a damaged or broken header right now.
Well, Paul Radisage was definitely one of the losers out of those pit stops as well. He lost about 5 positions. The trouble was a jammed rear right-hand wheel nut. And I notice now HRT have a left front wheel out for Todd Kelly, so possibly a flat spot there.
Stephen Johnson is another who is yet to pit. Remember, he did have to come in, but it was before the pit window opened. Here's Todd Kelly coming back in. Be interesting to see what dramas Todd Kelly has. Darryl might be able to understand that.
The suggestion from Greg was the flat spot.
Yeah.
It's not showing on our timing monitor at the moment. Darryl.
The team just pulled that, yeah, it's got a big flat spot on the bottom of the tyre, really big right through the carcass, Neil, so it's a good one.
Yeah, you can't afford to press on with that and try and get away with it. It's obviously very dangerous. Greg Murphy found himself at the eye of the storm again yesterday.
20 laps to go.
And he's currently in 5th position. 1 minute 9.4 has been his fastest lap. It was a 10 flat on that last lap, and he's trying to hunt down Jason Bright in the VX Commodore.
Murph's coming off his best round of the season as we take a look at Garth Tander's approach to turn 1. Greg Murphy left WA with a smile on his dial, 2nd overall and a race win. It bumped him 3 places up the championship. So he's now 4th on the ladder. Garth Tander sort of out there on his own at the moment. He's in 5th position corrected. He's coming off a 5th placing as well from WA. 2-time runner-up on this circuit in 1999 and 2000. They've had their trouble since then at Gary Rogers Motorsport. Jamie Whincup into the fray, one of the youngsters out there. I'll have a word to say or two about Dean Canto as well, who's really under the pump here. He's effectively been put on notice by Briggs Motorsport that he's got to perform here. Otherwise, he may be looking for another drive somewhere. And you'll see him down the order. Car number 66 in 16th position, 30 seconds back. He finished race 1, 18th, Dean Canto. First round here at Hidden Valley. So Stephen Ellery comes in.
He was actually leading the race and now taking the stop late, dropping a long way down the order. As I said before, he'll drop the best part of 40-odd seconds to go through this process. So slotting back in the field a fair way down the order. This is the brand new car driven by Stephen Richards. I said earlier that he got off to a strong start early in the weekend. He was 4th quickest in the first practice Friday afternoon, 3rd fastest in the 2nd practice session on Saturday morning. But then come qualifying time, they put brand new tyres on it, expected it to go like a blur, and ended up 16th. So it didn't respond to new tyres at all. Expected to see a time in the mid-8s out of the car, and discovered that it really needed to alter the setup in order to get the car. Got a lot of room on the exit there for Stephen, with Jason Richards out wide. But he's just gradually been clawing back ground since that point in time, and that's really been the characteristic of his championship this year, Matthew. It's just been consistent. This man here, Simon Wills, was really quick in the warm-up this morning. He was 4th fastest, and they found again overnight, just raking through data, and they made a change to the car this morning and it worked. And they were making another little change just prior to the car going out, literally only minutes before it went onto the grid. Look at that set of numbers there. Air temp 32, track temp 37, and the average cabin temperature at the moment is 45. Fairly hot day in the office.
One of the big movers out there is Max Wilson, up 13 positions. Glenn Seaton. And David Bernard, a chain reaction. At the front of that is Craig Baird, wide is Ellery.
Yeah, and Ellery, for some reason, had a problem going in there and kind of backed it up, and that meant that Baird had to get on the brakes, and then Glenn had nowhere to go. It was kind of it was a Friday afternoon traffic accident, wasn't it? Peak hour.
Here's Paul Radisage. What a great performance. He's really chipping away. You were mentioning just before there, Stephen Richards really chipping away. This guy has been averaging in qualifying 24th position, but in terms of rounds, he's averaging 10th position. And it's no wonder that he's beginning a climb up the championship ladder. He's now up to 8th after race 1 yesterday. Let's get down to Rusty and see what's happening with Mark Larkham, Greg.
Well, Matty, the Orcon Ford has come in. They're a bit puzzled, the team. They don't know whether it's a plug lead problem, but it's developed a miss of some sort, and he's struggling to get out pit lane here.
Hasn't been a good weekend for those guys. They ended up having to start rear of grid with both cars for the first race yesterday afternoon after an infringement with the engine control units, or the ECUs in that car, or those cars, I should say. And so their qualifying times were stripped, and they had to start up the back. And Darryl, what can you tell us about the Todd Kelly tyre situation?
Well, obviously, Neil, you can see where it's worn right through here in the belt as well, but I just spoke to the boys from Dunlop and they said the track temperature now is on the rise. It's risen 5 degrees since the start of the race. It's now up to 42 degrees, and these tyres, you can feel the temperature, how hot it is. You can barely touch it, are running about 85 right now.
It's not a flat spot, it's a crocodile bite.
Go off here, you'll probably get one. He's down in 30th position at the moment, Todd Kelly, so right back, and it's kind of been that kind of year for him as well. No results at Eastern Creek or Winton. 4 starts for a round win and 2 second placings, 2 pole positions and 2 race wins. And at the moment, he's got a handful of Greg Murphy.
A lot of garbage on the windscreen there on Murphy's car, which was interesting. I don't know where he would have picked all that up, but it looked pretty grotty, little streaks all over it. So either someone's flicked a bit of water or oil out somewhere. Incidentally, Lowndes has come in and taken his compulsory stop, and that was his second stop because they black flagged him when the bumper was hanging off that car earlier. So he's languishing down at the bottom of the order at the moment. Last lap for both these two guys, 10.6 and 10.7 respectively. So real intense, but no one can lay a glove on Ambrose and Scaife for pace at the moment. They're a good 2 or 3 tenths, if not more, quicker on average per lap compared to everybody else. Murphy sort of thought about it then, but just didn't really have track position. Wasn't far enough up the inside, and it's a bit of diminishing return there because the bump upsets the car sufficiently on the approach to 4, and the dirty side of the road doesn't do you any favours. So if you do actually get too adventurous there, you're more likely to meet with Mr. B Pillar than you are with making a good clean pass.
So Stephen Johnson now comes in. And this will be for his compulsory tyre stop. Remember, he had to come in just before the window opened for the damage.
Yeah.
And with the pit window closing at the end of 24, he's run out of time.
In these relatively short races, Matthew, once you've been into that pit lane twice, it's game, set, match. You just don't recover from it, unfortunately. So there was a puncture or some sort of damage on the left rear of Stephen's car, probably as a result of that stuff that happened at turn 5 in the opening lap, and it's put him out of business. Murphy continues to just hammer the back of Bright, and that's actually inviting Garth Tander to the party at the moment. He's getting closer and closer all the time. Oh, again, Murphy having a look. Oh, he's giving him a little touch-up as well. And he's flicked the lights on. You can see the reflection of the headlights in the rear of the number 50 car. The boys are all just starting to wind the preload up on each other here.
You had that snigger then. You know exactly what's going to happen if it keeps going that way, don't you?
Well, what it is, it's like a little delivery of your business card. It's like, hello, this is who I am and this is where I am, in case you've forgotten. And then if you've got that little bit of extra pace, you can keep rattling away a bit on the back of the other guy.
Rusty?
Well, you talk about guys being taken out of the game by dramas in pit lane. I can't quite figure out why yet. I'm having a look at the tyres that have just come off Jason Richards' car, but he has had 2 stops in this one for tyres.
Yeah, well, he also was involved in that turn 5 thing on the opening lap, and I wouldn't mind betting because he lunged up the inside that he flat spotted a front left on the way in there, and that would have brought him in. I'd be curious to know how Todd Kelly put such a monster on his car, because that was probably, I imagine, looking at the size of it going into the turn 1 braking area. This is a great bit of road through here, Matthew. Turns 2 and 3, big wallop in the road there, but the car speed on the way in is fantastic. It's a really exciting ride, about 215 Ks. 90 odd Ks through turn 4, back up to 160 Ks here before you're braking. Oh, Tander up the inside, he's done it. Murph was thinking about Bridie, and then he left the gap hugely wide for Tander, who just went straight down the inside, nailed him and did it. There was contact, but he was well up the inside, and I don't think Murphy realised that he was as close or he was as vulnerable as in fact he was.
Caught napping, Greg Murphy and Garth Tander took advantage with a big don't argue. Craig Lowndes has looped on the rear of that. He's out of play.
Yes, he's 30th, in fact, at the moment.
But what about the instant fight back from Greg Murphy as soon as he saw Tander? Watch this. So these two go in there. Tander comes in and says, forget about him, I'm coming through.
Yeah, I don't reckon Greg thought that Garth was as close as he was, and he just left it wide open for him. And what's Kiwi for Darnett?
Ambrose leads, Scaife is second, Bright is third, Garth Tander now is fourth, and Greg Murphy shuffles back to fifth. Stephen Richards appears to be a long way back on that shot that we just had there. He's sixth. In between him on the road, as we mentioned, is a back marker in Craig Lowndes. Tander fourth in race 1. He's been averaging 11th overall for each round in the series, and that's exactly where he is on the championship ladder.
Here's the gap first to second. It's now out to 1.6 seconds, so it's looking as though Marcus has got this one bagged up, mistakes notwithstanding, and they're coming up onto the back of Todd Kelly and Rodney Forbes again, wasn't it?
Those last two laps, you can see there in the right-hand of the side of the screen, lap 24 and 25 shows that Scaifer's got a tenth of a second better than Ambrose. May have been as a result of some back market traffic. Look at this freight train.
This is Ingle in here, Cito's in there as well, 18 and 19. There's a whole bunch of them, but some of them are out of position as well, which confuses the order a bit.
Stephen Richards is in 6th position. Paul Dumbrell is in 25th position. Their team boss, Larry Perkins, is with Darryl Beattie. Darryl?
Larry, difficult qualifying session, you could say, for the new car, but how's 6th position so far?
Well, you know, it's the same old story, isn't it? Your car never goes as fast as you want it to, and Stephen didn't get the qualifying time that he would have liked, but he's recovered really well from his 17th spot. He's now running 6th, so I'm very happy with that, and he's keeping his nose clean. But, you know, it's still a few laps to go, and, you know, we just got to live with the speed we've got and get on with it.
Are you able, do you think, to make many changes between races?
Well, we were disappointed to not be as fast as we wanted. The car didn't go as fast as it should have on the new tyres. But look, that's things that we're going to deal with. You know, the main thing is he's still pressed on, and he's getting up the right end. As I say, he's up to 6th from a disastrous practice time, and one more race to go. But look, it's still only one round in a long championship.
Paul's back in 24th. He's had a few dramas during the race. Paul Dumbrell.
Well, yeah, Paul has been unfortunately caught in other people's problems, and so he hasn't done anything wrong himself, except it has put him back a few more spots than he should have been. But look, it's not the end of the world. When you're past 15th to 20th, it doesn't really matter. You just got to keep your nose clean.
Thanks, Larry.
And after yesterday's race, the championship standings have Stephen Richards second with 882 points. Jason Bright still championship leader with 911. So, as Larry suggested, keeping your nose clean and just lurking around there in 6th position is actually a handy thing for Stephen Richards, because the way the points weighting has been done this year, that still puts him totally in touch with where he wants to be in the championship. Meanwhile, Garth Tander, folks, has actually got by as Anthony Trapp plucks his helmet off, and Tander's got by Bright. Oh, look at Ingle, got the rear brakes all locked here. This could end in tears. Max Wilson is not an easy guy to pass at the best of times. He's a fierce little racer, and he's got himself well covered in here. Bernard's thumping into the back of Ingle as well as they go into turn 5.
This is a battle for 18th and 19th.
They had a lot of damage on the Ingle car last night. They actually finished at 11 o'clock though, so relative to late night motor racing disasters, it wasn't too bad, but the damage for them was the fact that they lost those 4 race tyres before they'd even negotiated the first corner. Only 10 tyres allocated this weekend, so 2.5 sets. And Matthew, you've got a balance sheet, I noticed there. You're doing some part-time accounting, are you?
Well, it all sounds very good, but gee, if you're the team boss at Stone Brothers Racing, it's really ugly. This is what's been spent on repairs for Russell's car since the start of 2003. And trouble for Mark Larkham. Again, time and again, he's found himself in trouble at turn 1. He was caught wide. Look at the flame coming out there. And now you know why there's so many grass fires, but they've chopped all that back down. So Larkham spears off again. Just got some numbers, I'll race through them quickly. Adelaide, 40 grand. Phillip Island, 50 grand. Eastern Creek, 15. Perth, 20 grand. Darwin, 15,000 man hours at around 100 grand. That's a grand total of around 240,000 bucks worth of repair jobs on the car that we're sitting in currently.
Russell would have shouted it.
Yeah.
Just would have dipped into that extensive bank account. Don't go too far back, Jamie.
Awkward spot to get out of too. John Bow had a couple of good trips throughout there in 2002.
Oh, he's just got in there too hot, got over the ripple strip.
I don't know. He clouded the issue for us. Now this is what happened with Ingle. Remember when we left you, they were tapping on each other's doors and Ingle just did the big switchback and got him. That only happened just as we came back.
Well, Max drove so defensively. He drove right down the inside and just made his corner speed. His mid-corner speed was appallingly slow, and then Bezzy gets him as well. And I think Craig Baird buys into it. So Max just actually, he triggered that himself by being so shallow on the way into 4. It just made him so slow through there. And then the angry pack have just eaten him alive. Safety car is going to be deployed. The yellow flag is out. So there must be an issue.
There's 4 laps to go, Russell. 4 to go.
Somewhere around the circuit that the race director's uncomfortable with. Order at the moment: Ambrose, Scaife, Tander, Bright, Murphy. And is this
Still Jamie trying to come back, so he obviously did collect the tyre wall in the end of all that.
Yeah, big time. She's got about 45 degrees of camber on the front right.
Safety car's out. Jamie Wincup's doing his level best to get it back into the pit lane. And that will mean that we're going to have about a 4-lap dash. Look at this.
Ooh.
That's a sick and sorry beast. It's not going where he wants it to go because he wants to go the exact opposite way.
Tony got no steering.
The 20-year-old Victorian in his first V8 supercar season, making his Darwin debut here. And with his teammate Garth Tander, they've deployed the new cool suit for this round to keep the temperature down. So the safety car is letting the field go past to pick up the leader. And there it is, Marcus Ambrose.
It looked as though he did it on his own as well. I'm a bit puzzled as to why we've got a safety car at this point. Greg.
Well, I'm down here with Gary Rogers. Neil, you're doing a few Hail Marys before the start of the race, but the bloke upstairs hasn't been too kind to you.
I believe in that big fella upstairs. He's helped us a lot.
What happened as far as Jamie's concerned? Have you spoken to him on the radio?
I haven't spoken to him. He just got on the radio and said there was no steering, but I'd say that happened when he hit the bank. I think he's just had a lose. He's young, he's impetuous, he's having a bit of a go, and you hate it, but it's going to happen from time to time.
Quickly, the weekend didn't start too well for Garth, but going exceptionally well at the moment.
We've been working hard on the new car, and I mean, you know, it's just disappointing when you put the time and the result doesn't come, but look, we're heading in the right direction. I'm sure we'll get back where we were.
Cheers, Gary.
Thanks, Greg.
So Gary Rogers and Jamie Whincup have a sit-down chat about what happened there. Whincup is out of the race. His best performance of the year in his first year came in his first round, 22nd at Adelaide for the Formula 4 champ for last year.
I'm assuming that this safety car has been deployed because of car 33, but it was deployed before 33 even came to its resting position. So unless there was some other issue around the track somewhere, but Marcus Ambrose, I can tell you, is none too impressed. He's exploded on the radio because he had a very, very healthy margin, which has all but evaporated. Now, I have had it confirmed that the safety car has been deployed just for car number 33, so it's a little bit of a strange one, that one.
At the end of all that, like I said, we're headed for another 3 or 4 lap dash. Greg Rust.
3 laps to go, Marcus.
Rusty, you with us?
Just having spoken to a few of the team managers, Matthew, it does seem as though it's only the Wing Cup incident that has brought out this safety car. Now, another issue which is raised in drivers' briefings, team managers' briefings, etc. in the build-up to this event is restarts from a safety car because we have such a long straight here at Hidden Valley. Very important not to overlap or overtake a car until you get to that start-finish line. We have seen dramas before.
Daryl's just been having a chat to Ross Stone. What do you got, Daryl?
Yeah, I just spoke to Ross. I said, was it just stopped because of Wing Cup? He said, no, apparently there was a tyre on the side of the track from that shunt when he hit the wall.
Okay, well, it's all in this man's hands. Marcus Ambrose, as Jamie Whincup surveys the damage. Gary Rogers got a huge rap on this guy. I mentioned he's only young, 20 years old. I've already raised the point that another 20-year-old in the field, or 22-year-old Dean Canto under pressure. Paul Dumbrell still trying to find his feet. It's a big game and it's a tough one.
Sorry, Matthew, I just was away from the game here for a minute, but I think I've just had to confirm, you may have mentioned this, that there was a tyre on the circuit. Yeah,
Daryl had that confirmed by Ross Stone.
So that was the issue there.
Mark Scaife.
Don't forget tonight we've got Formula One, folks. It's going to be a late night, but the European Grand Prix from the Nürburgring will be on Network 10 Motorsport after the movie, and Kimi Räikkönen has pole position, his first ever pole position. And it's astonishingly close. There's just 3 drivers separated by 1/10 of a second. There they are, pole to Kimi, Michael Schumacher alongside him, Ralph Schumacher. So a great mix of chassis and engines and tyres. Montoya is 4th, Barrichello 5th, Jarno Trulli is 6th, Olivier Panis 7th. He was actually fastest for 2 of the sessions so far up at the European Grand Prix. And so Toyota are well in the game after some extensive testing in the last couple of weeks. And there's Jeff Grech just taking a look at what's going on. Jim Stone from Stone Brothers Racing. This is going to be a frantic blast to the end. Greg?
Well, I'm back with Gary Rogers. You're a little concerned that this may finish under safety car.
Well, I think it probably will, Greg, and I mean, it's a shame. You know, the people come to see a spectacle, and a race really needs to be that. There's safety issues. I personally think our car could be left where it is, but even if they take it off the track, there should be a rule where you have to race minimum maybe 5 clear laps to the flag on a circuit this size. NASCAR's got the rule. It's a sensible rule. It's good for the crowd, it's good for the TV, and in particular good for the sponsors to spend their money.
Thanks, Gary.
Kim Jones also prowling. Look at the team managers. They're all wearing a very concerned look. So this is the problem. Jamie Whincup's car is parked down the main straight.
Yeah, it's...
you can see that's the rear of the grid. He wanted to go right, dip into pit lane, but he couldn't get in there without
pit lane
steering.
entry is there on the right-hand side, but he couldn't get in there because of the lack of steering control, so he's had to come across to the dead side of the track.
Now, assuming that they do get a restart underway, on the road, Ambrose, and then Todd Kelly is behind him and in front of Mark Scaife. So, on the radio chat that we've been listening to, we understand that Toddler has been informed by the bosses. Let Mark through. He's in a better race position. Maybe Jeff Grech can expand on that with Daryl.
Jeff, they haven't got that car off just yet, and there's a possibility it could finish under the safety car. What do you think of that rule?
Well, I'm surprised that it's on the truck now. I mean, for the sake of all the fans, not that the positions would probably change, but it'd be nice to have at least a 1-lap sprint at the end. But you know, I mean, I'm not the judge of fact, but certainly it'll be. No, their lights are out, I'm just hearing. So she's on.
Thanks, mate.
She's on, all right. 1 lap. A race to the end.
It's that particular spot in the road, a race car would never go over there, so I tend to agree with Gary. I don't think it was really at any point in time.
Oh, geez, take a look at this.
About?
That is farcical. They were going to come round and do a 1-lap dash.
That's all a bit silly. Further back in that field, the midfielders had to stop at turn 10.
Well, everybody's had to stop, but now they've had to rev it up again, so it is on. 1 lap, 1 to go.
Well,
Todd Kelly pulls aside and lets Scaife go through. Marcus Ambrose has got a lot of distance between him and the next red car. A 2.9 kilometre circuit
I tell you what,
race is what it's come down to.
They'll be taking tickets at race control for this one because there'll be a queue of every team manager in the place there. There'll be 20 blokes marching down there after this race. That is a joke way to start a motor race.
Not to mention finish one, Neil. Marcus Ambrose through turn 4. The order is Ambrose, Scaife, Tander, Bright, Greg Murphy. That makes up your top 5. Todd Kelly's in that picture there, but he's out of the game. All of these guys caught up as back markers. It appears as though the battle is back on between Jason Bright and Greg Murphy.
Gee, there'll be some unhappy people with that because what you saw in the background of that shot in this race is just going to stay as it is now in these top spots, but there were people that were sort of spread-eagled and stopped at the top of the circuit, you know, literally, and the rule is that you've got to go down to the start line single file, so people have had to duck left and right. Anyway,
whatever the result, you get them any way you can, and after 2 races here at Hidden Valley, it's all square. Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife are tied.
Thanks, guys. Fantastic job.
In race wins,
Really good, mate. We're making good progress there.
and in championship points, 126 points each now for Ambrose and Scaife. Scaife finishes second after winning race 1 yesterday, and Garth Tander gets himself into 3rd position. It was a good one for Marcus Ambrose. He made the move when Scaife made a little bit of an error coming around turn 10 early on in the race, but when it all came down to it at the very end, oh geez, it was a fizzer. Still, as I mentioned, you get him any way you can. Ambrose wins, Scaife 2nd, Tander 3rd. 2 Fords in the top 8. The rest are the General's men. Another good performance from Paul Radisage. Simon Wills and John Bowe hold on to their top 10 positions. Paul Wheel has been consistent throughout the year. With 1 race to go, can he push himself further up into a top 10 finish? 35 laps to go. Another 100 kilometres. We'll come back after this and decipher all that, see who's angry, who's not. But Marcus Ambrose is happy. He's got the race win under his belt. Back after this with more.